Hey everybody, it's PJ from Wisconsin Air Gunners, and I'm glad to be back on the bench today with the Diana 460 Magnum in 22 caliber. It's been a while since I did my box to bench on this air rifle. It is, by way of reminder, an underlever spring gun, and in the box to bench we went through velocity, trigger pull, weight, did some open sight accuracy testing at shorter range, and the purpose of today's video is to let you know what I've found out from a pellet selection standpoint and then stretch it out to 30 yards with an optic. I'm actually at 31 yards today on the indoor range, so the wind isn't going to be a factor and any mistakes made are totally on me. I've paired the rifle with this Leaper's Accushot. This is a 3-12 by 44. This is their mini SWAT mil dot. It's a great lightweight scope, Springer rated, so I don't expect any problems with it down the line. And I'm running it on about as low a mount as I can get. These are Leaper's dovetail mounts. They've got that little pin that drops down, and the receiver on the 460 Magnum is dovetail, but then it has a whole bunch of little pre-drilled holes in it so that you can get the scope right in the right spot and have it pinned so you know it's not going to shake loose on the mounts, which if your scope comes loose, either internally because it's not up to a powerful Springer like this, or the doesn't hold on the dovetail, you're going to have no end to the madness of why am I not hitting where I think I should be hitting. So I've done a whole bunch of pellet testing, and what I've found is at this distance I'm getting the best groups using good old JSB Hades. These are 15.9 grains. And this gun really likes them, and I've been getting good groups. So I just off camera shot a group, and I'll show you the Chrono data here. This is using the FX True Ballistic chronograph, and then here's a picture of the group. And I've got my camera downrange, so we're going to do another group on camera for you. So I've played a lot with hold on this gun, and those of you who know and like Springers, well, you know this way better than I do, but sometimes a gun is particularly hold sensitive. I wouldn't put this gun in that category, but if I'm trying to squeeze out as much accuracy as I can, I have found a couple of landmarks that work for me to get the best and the most out of the gun. So I'm using this Champion range bag. It's got a little bit of grippy in here. I've had some people suggest that that isn't the best for shooting a Springer. I've tried this rest, I've tried a leather rest, I've tried a whole bunch of different ones. What I found the best is if I put my hand inside the rest and then hold my palm open. And what I'm actually doing is indexing this pad of my hand with the bottom of the slot for the underlever, and that gives me a consistent hold point every time. And then I'm using just a little bit of shoulder pressure and squeezing the trigger straight back while I hold the crosshairs on the target. And that's been giving me pretty good results. So we're gonna go for a 5-shot group right now. I'm gonna fire up the chronograph. And let's shoot a group. 675. $666. $668. That one dropped just a little bit. $674. And I pulled that one to the left. Okay. The Olympics are coming up. And if you get a chance to watch any of the 10-meter shooting, which I strongly recommend that you do, you might hear an announcer say that the shooter is holding too long on the target and not taking the shot. And that's exactly what I just did. I should have stopped, I should have taken a breath, and I should have waited to take that shot. So let's try that number 5 again. $669, and that's much better. I would hate for the rifle to suffer because I held too long on a shot. You practice that. Okay, I'm gonna take a breath. I'm gonna let some out. Then I'm gonna squeeze the trigger while I'm holding my breath, and then exhale. And you get to that point where you've held that trigger for a couple of seconds too long, and all of a sudden things start shaking a little bit. If you're shooting, my advice is when you get to that point where you're like, oh, the shaking, because especially shooting a Springer, not shooting with a bipod, not using a rear rest, stuff like that, any body movement is going to translate through that gun into downrange accuracy, or in this case, inaccuracy. But I think that's a pretty solid group down there for me with a Springer at 30 yards. So let's take a peek at that up close, get an analysis done on it, and wrap up some final thoughts. Oh, by the way, I can show you what that shot string looks like. So put that picture up while we're talking, but basically you got a high of 676, a low of 666, so a 10-shot spread, a 3.82 standard deviation, and an average of 671, and a calculated ballistic coefficient of 0.024, which at that speed is in line with what I've seen before with the Hades. Interesting note on the FX True Ballistic, I've talked to the folks at FX in Sweden about this. I have this one set up so it's reading all the distances between here and 30 yards. But when it comes from the factory, it'll be set to much longer distances. And if you ever get confused by, I know the pellet hit a target at 30, but it's showing me like a 150-yard range, and I know there's a wall between me and 150 yards. When they did the programming on this, they had to make some decisions, and one of the decisions that they made was that since they're calculating BC, if they had yardages programmed where they couldn't actually read the data, you're getting predicted data at those distances. So I had a viewer a couple of months ago, I was showing some chrono data, and I had it reading out to 100 yards. The data came up as showing a 75-yard chronograph reading, which of course is impossible. So I checked, and what it's doing is, because it knows the ballistic coefficient and it knows its last known reading point, it's going to provide you, if you've told it, hey, I want a reading at this distance, it's going to tell you that. So it is an estimate based on known velocities and ballistic coefficient. So let's go look at that target. All right, so I went down range and collected those targets. So here's the one, let's see, should go this way. Here's the one that you just saw me shoot. So if you permit me to discount that one, which was a shooter error, this is just under an inch, which for me, not by trade a shooter Springer, I'm pretty satisfied with that. In fact, I remember way back in the early 2010s, I want to say maybe like 2011, 2012, when I was kind of playing around with getting into air guns as an adult. I purchased 2 break barrels from big box stores, and boy, if I'd have been able to get 1-inch groups at 30 yards with those, I mean, I was reading a lot of stuff, and you know, they were talking about break-in period, and you got to do this and you got to do that and practice artillery hold. There were some days at 15, 20 yards, I was feeling lucky to have a 2-inch group. So I'm pretty happy. I also grabbed the one I shot off camera, and I'll throw up an analysis of this one. But actually, group size-wise, this is about the same size. This is just under an inch. Under an inch, for somebody who doesn't shoot Springers an awful lot, I like it. I do like the underlever action. I much prefer that to a break barrel. Just feel like the possibility of getting some barrel droop in there as the gun wears over time is just like, that's not really for me. I much prefer either the underlever or the side lever. I do like the balance of this with, get it right, with this UTG scope, kind of wobbling to and fro on me. But I really like where that balance point is, and this cutout gives me a nice consistent spot. So if I'm not on a bench, I feel I can hold it really steadily. UTG has been making Springer rated scopes for a really long time. They know what they're doing in that segment. The price point on this was, I think, right around $200. So it's not one that'll break the bank. It's got a useful reticle on it. It's got parallax down to just below 10 yards. You've got adjustable turrets, pretty much in that price point, hard to beat. The glass is good. It does have an illuminated reticle if you're into that sort of thing. And this is like their easy tap system, so it will do just about any color you can imagine. There's some kind of menu in there. I don't typically use an illuminated reticle, so it's not something I've played with. But in the pellet testing I've done, and you know, really getting my hold set up for me so that I could show you guys the best I can show you. This scope has not missed a beat, and an easy one to say, yeah, I would definitely check that one out. So again, the 3 to 12 by 44 mini SWAT. It's the Leapers UTG Accushot line. If you have questions about the rifle, and again, thanks to Diana for getting this into my hands, and Blue Line for being the go-between. Let me know. I'll get them answered as quickly as I can. And as always, until the next video, shoot safe, shoot straight, and we'll see you around.